I get home and I'm angry, and I smell like day-old buttery dough and meat. I can't wait to take off my uniform, shower, plow myself on the couch, and hog the remote till I pass out. Oh my God, I'm becoming my father. My name is Anatalia Vallez, and this is an excerpt from my play called The Shots. So I first found out about Breath of Fire when I was 17, which is a couple of years ago. I was part of Barrio Writers, which is an organization based in Santana, and we happened to be sharing the same building with the Centro Cultural de Mexico on Broadway, and Breath of Fire's little black box theater was also housed there. And through some folks, I believe it's Clau, their name now is David, and they wanted to start something similar to Barrio Writers, which was enriching teens in the neighborhood and doing that but with theater. And so I believe they had a conversation with Sara and folks from Breath of Fire, and the space was open and available. So some students from Chapman would mentor us, and that was my first exposure to Breath of Fire. It's important. I see it as something that is multi-generational, that is not monolingual, that allows for folks that, not just folks that identify as Latinas, but very much rooted in that, and very much loud about that and unapologetic about that. I think that's something really important to be in Orange County, and to be loud and proud and honest about that work. That makes a big difference. That makes for authenticity, and gives room for a lot of growth for all the writers and the creators that come through. Breath of Fire has affected the artistic community. It's affected me and my accessibility, I can say, to the arts. If it wasn't for Breath of Fire, I don't know what I would really be doing artistically, because it's a home base for a lot of artists. I think that when there's so much change happening in Santana and in Orange County, and there's so much of like taking the good about the community and then taking out the bad, which could mean people, which could mean places, which could mean restaurants, which could be community spaces. To have a space, even though we are in a lot of ways we are nomadic, to have a space allows for folks to just be curious. We've had so many people just come in and see, like, what is this about? We've had people, teenagers wanting to be interested in learning more, and it's always a conversation I feel that we have to have with the community as well, and that's a step that we're also trying to get to, is how do we have conversations with the community and continue to have accessibility. I've had the privilege of doing some self-care workshops with different community spaces in Santana, and been brought by Breath of Fire to put these events together. And I think that's also it, is how do we break the walls and break the idea that professional theater can only be accessed to a certain amount of people, or like to specific people, and opening that up, because there's so much opportunity. As I said, there's so much opportunity for all of our lives to be enriched. I think that these classes are so powerful because, specifically with Diana, I can tell you that she will make you feel like your story matters. And it's beyond that. I think, especially for people of color, it's so important that we are told that our stories matter, that our lives matter, that our ideas matter, that our imagination matters, and that we can live that we've lived in the past, that we live now, and there's a possibility of us living in the future, and us writing that and writing these narratives down, and I think there's so much power in that when we realize that we have that power, regardless of whatever job or career aspirations you have. It's a process of really learning that your story matters. I learned about playwriting, I guess, in college. I had a couple of friends that were doing playwriting, and supporting them as an actor was really fun. And then through Breath of Fire, meeting Diana Burbano and Sara Guerrero and Elizabeth and Elvia and all of these Latinas that were very much like, I am a playwright, and would show you, what they were working on. And it really made it real for me, the fact that I could do that and that I could express myself in that way. And also the power in casting in that process of who gets these parts and who this story is for. Some of my writing is in Spanish, and I try not to translate whenever I don't feel that it's fit, because it also creates, I feel, linguistic justice, and it allows for other people that aren't always relegated to go to theaters and to go to these spaces to see themselves reflected on stage. I think it's so important that language justice and having bilingual plays and even plays in Spanish are put on stage, because I think especially living in California, we hear Spanish all the time, and I know folks that don't identify with that language, that learn that language because they want to better understand and better be understood in the communities that they're a part of. And I think that's something really powerful, because there are so many people that come here and learn the English language, and why not have that reciprocated, right? Why not have that, like, a better communication overall? And I see it in the way that my mom understands things a little bit better when she can understand, when she can understand it with her first language. I can see that, and I think that's really, really powerful. I started writing plays. I think I was ready. Once I started, I was in the Bay Area for a couple of years, and when I came back, I sought out Breath of Fire, and they did their first summer series of playwriting. There's playwriting series, and I just dove in and trusted the process and trusted that, maybe it's not going to be a big deal, and maybe not a lot of people will read it, or I didn't have all these expectations of what could happen with it. It was something that was really powerful for me to dive into. I realized that I found this love for playwriting when I was able to cast people that I knew and that were really good actors and were just hungry for an opportunity, and that I could celebrate that and, like, put them on stage and have them explore these characters that I had created. That was really powerful for me. So my play is called Call the Shots, and it's actually inspired by a song by Rihanna that's called The B Word, Better Have My Money, and it actually talks about rage and femininity, and something that we don't see a lot of is the power that comes from that rage, that anger, that frustration of being oppressed, of being put down, of being taken advantage of. And so doing that in a very peculiar way, in a small scale, but really not being apologetic about feeling that anger, and what do we do with that? How do we move through that? For some reason, I write, like, I get this kind of funny bone when I'm writing, and I hope that people get a laugh at it. You know, it's poking fun at like therapy, and poking fun at like kind of new ageism, and kind of just like everything's gonna be fine. You just gotta breathe, and I hope people understand that that they are able to overcome the circumstances just with the day-to-day things that they do and the way that they see things, but also just kind of have this moment of like, okay, we're all a little bit screwed up. We're all a little like hanging in there, and you know, there's some things that really irk us, and we got to choose our battles at the end of the day. I have to write because the stories of my grandparents, my great-grandparents, and my parents aren't documented because Nahuatl, which is the language that my grandparents started hearing and were not encouraged to learn, has very much been taken out of their history, and I think it's it's important for me and for the legacy that I have to share as much as I can, to come from a place of being genuine and being honest and knowing that I don't know everything, but what I do know and what surges is also spiritual practice and is also in conversation with all these other voices. You know, there's so many writers, there's so many playwrights out there. So having this in conversation with other perspectives, I think really lends to something that is enriching of us, and being able to tap into our histories and what we know and what we've been taught, and taking the best and putting that forward for the next generation. I just love Breath of Fire. I think I've seen so many folks like college aged come into the space and just go in for the first time and leave and just be like, oh my God, I just felt like I just went home. And I feel like that's so incredible, because I feel like any time that I am there, I'll have people in their 20s, in their 30s, in their 40s, in their 50s plus in that space, all talking about the same subject, or all, you know, just chatting, having coffee and talking about their day, and then going into a play and dissecting it and seeing what pops and all these things. And it flows so naturally, and there's so much genuine spirit and joy that is developed and is upheld in that space, that for folks that maybe feel isolated in their own communities or feel like left out, that is a great space to be a part of. And I just hope that that continues, and that we have those multi-generational, multicultural, multiracial conversations, because that's where there's just so much room for growth for Orange County. I think that the audience should attend the New Works Lab, because you will be in for quite a treat. I can't even express how excited I am to witness this, because every single playwright just brings their A game, and these folks are hungry for an audience. These folks come prepared with everything they've got. You know, they're not holding back. There's an urgency, I believe, in this political climate to share these stories, and they're not necessarily all correlating to what is happening, you know, like what's happening on Twitter, what's happening on Facebook, what's happening. It's how people are living these experiences and how they're living their day-to-day, how communities are being affected, how female voices are being misused and misrepresented, and what does it mean for them to actually hold the pen, to share their story, and to hear it out loud is important, especially in a place like Orange County. You have to go, because theater is meant to be felt and experienced live. So you will be living these experiences. You will be living these narratives. You will be breathing, inhaling, exhaling, holding your breath with the audience. And this is what community looks like, right? This is what it is to be in community with folks, to have this live experience, and to listen with all the senses, and to be present, to be off your phone, to be off of whatever's going on in the background, to be present and to listen to these narratives, which are so important, and just cover all sorts of different subjects, from, large scale to small scale issues and problems, dilemmas, and do them in very dramatic, poetic, hilarious ways.